Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 113. In this episode, I'm going to be breaking down in detail processes, steps, and actually ideas that you can utilize to implement to grow your income or your business's revenue this year or whatever year that you're listening to this. And that's why I brought out my laptop. I want to be as detailed as possible in this. And one thing I'm going to continue to do on this podcast and continue to involve it, not only have, great guests, but bring you guys more insight, more detail, and different creative ways for you to grow as an individual, grow your business in every area of your life. So let's go ahead and get into it. So in detail, right? So to grow your business, there's a couple different things that I wrote down that can have massive differences to your income, right? Number one, organic daily content. A lot of times I meet with entrepreneurs or I'm friends with them and have a conversation with them. And they say, Grant, how do I grow my business? And the first thing I ask them is, well, how many pieces of content, organic, reels, not an ad, did you post today? They said, well, none. I said, okay, well, how many did you post this week? And they'll say, I'm like one or two. And I go, are you trying to stay hidden, or do you not want people to know about your business? He's like, no. It's just, man, I'm not good at content. Well, it's 2025. If you look at the biggest brands, the biggest creators, any consumer product, you cannot go anywhere without seeing it. Think of State Farm. If you live in America, State Farm, Allstate, Domino's, McDonald's. You can't go a day without seeing their products. People buy what they know. They don't always buy the best product. They don't always listen to the best podcast per se, or listen to the best creators, but they listen to the people that they see and they hear the most. Okay. So increase your daily organic content. And the way to view this is not how your best friend would perceive it, not your mom, not even a coworker that you have a really great relationship. The rule for organic content is if someone that doesn't knows you, if they saw your content and they don't care if you win the lotto, but they don't want anything bad to happen to you, but they're also not going to lose sleep for 2 weeks if something does, would they see it, enjoy that piece of content, and want to share it with a friend? Okay, so make content that's so great that people that don't know about you want to show their friends. Okay, second, daily paid advertisement, right? Sometimes it's simple. For one time, I was like, how do I grow my business? What do I need to do differently? And I started diving into all the numbers, and I was like, this literally sounds so simple and kind of ignorant, because honestly it is. I was like, what if we just double the ad spend? We're spending X amount of dollars per month. Let's just double it and see what happens. And our revenue literally doubled. We increased the sales reps, we doubled the advertising, and we literally doubled our income. Now, that's not going to happen for every business. You got to dial into your numbers and know that you have a great marketing strategy, a great product and service, and in the right market, right demographic, all those different types of things. But more money on advertising typically leads to more revenue. Okay, 3 is affiliates, right? A lot of times, some of you guys don't have a huge social media following, and you're like, and this is not me telling you guys that you need to build 1 million plus following, because most actually really wealthy people are very little, they're not really much on social media. But what you can do is first ask yourself the question, who is your customer? Where is your customer? And what do they like? What do they enjoy? And what do they listen to? I'm a business that I've worked with. It's a tech startup, and they're a little bit past their first year. And when I first started working with them, they were averaging about $6,000 per month. And now they're already up to about 20 grand. They could be a little bit higher. I haven't talked to them about a week or so. And the biggest driver is they had an incredible product. They had a ton of free users, but they don't have a big following on social media. And he said, Grant, we're software engineers. It's like, we're not salespeople. We can talk pretty good, but it's just not what we specialize in. I said, okay, well, who's your customer? What types of things do they like? And he started naming and going through all these different areas. And we identified, and I said, okay, do you guys have a referral program? He said, we do, but it's like a few people and it just hasn't really worked. I said, okay, well, how about this? Let's get so many referrals that it gives you a headache, that it's a lot to deal with, and scale it to so many people that you can reach new audiences. And over the next 30 days or so, they went out and found, I think, another 45 different affiliates. And per usual, just like with anything in life, 90% was a waste. 1 or 2 people here and there. But 1 or 2 of these affiliates nearly doubled their entire revenue. They were streamers. Some of them had podcasts, because even though they didn't have the audience, their affiliates did. And so when you're looking at business, you're looking at income, or you're trying to reach anything, association and leverage and output are the key drivers to growth in anything you can imagine. Think about Let's say you take someone that is wildly successful, but they don't have an audience. What do they leverage? They leverage Fox, they leverage CNN, they leverage newspapers. This was back in the day. Billboards, radio. Now it's massive podcasts. Now you're seeing really big artists in music going on streams. They're going on Kai Cenat and Aiden Ross's streams. You see, I don't know if you guys seen this for anybody that watches it. Kevin Hart, who's been in the movie business, is now going on streams because that's where the audience is. Okay, so always think about who is my customer and what are they viewing. Okay, you can franchise your business if you have a brick and mortar business. You can hire or build out sales organizations. So you can actually have dealers and you have the central product. So that could be like, for example, in the solar industry, you have a master dealer or an installer, and then you have sales organizations that actually work and sell their product. No different than a Chevy or Ford dealership. They don't actually own Chevy or Ford. They're just a sales dealer, okay? Cold outreach. While simple, this is tried and true. And if you look at most corporate companies, they have massive names, they spend tons of money on advertising, but they actually are just doing cold outreach, their sales reps, every single day. Whether it's direct to the businesses, direct cold email, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, they're reaching out and contacting an unbelievable amount of people. Last is email marketing. And this was something that I never really did, and I've slowly started to do this year. I read this book, and the author was talking about that email marketing. If you have an email list of, let's say, 100,000 people, he says is more valuable than 1 million plus people on TikTok or Instagram. Because the biggest driver is this: you actually own your audience as soon as you have their phone number and their email. So you can then email and give them value, give them resources, and also provide call to action. So every time you close, like for anybody that has a consumer product, wants to start a consumer product, e-commerce, each time that you sell a product, especially something that may be a very low ticket offer, $20, $30, $5, or even free resources, what's going to happen is you're going to now acquire that lead and own that customer. Now you can upsell them and do drip campaigns and potentially even hire copywriters or anybody with email marketing where you can target those people. Because think about it, on most social media, unless it's a viral post, Instagram, TikTok, they're not even going to show it to 10% of your audience. So if you have 100,000 followers, maybe 10,000 are going to see it. And that's maybe. But if you have an email, massive email list, you may have 30 to 50% actually view it and look at it. And there are also people that really like you and they're used to your stuff. Okay. So a good question to ask yourself, right? And this is what's so important, is never just take random actions and hope for the best. For anyone that wants to make more money this year or even start a new business, Dynadot is a website I've used to purchase multiple domains for my businesses. So they have incredible tools such as expired domain auctions that help you find domains that you can't find other places. They also give you the ability to acquire strong domains and list them for sale on multiple different marketplaces. And they even have an appraisal tool that will give you an idea on what it could potentially cost in the marketplace. So go ahead and click the link in my bio and use the code in the description to get up to $5 off your first order. So one thing I want to add to all of these options that I gave you guys is if you guys go, man, that's great advice, Grant, and you just do a bunch of it randomly. Yes, your business will likely grow, but you won't really know why. And it won't be scalable because you're just doing a lot of random actions. Law of averages and tracking your numbers in business is the number one most important and first step to growing any single business. No different than for any athlete in the NBA or MLB or NFL or Premier League soccer. They can't improve if they don't actually measure something. So for example, on cold outreach, you don't just call a gajillion people and hope for the best. You track whether it's through a CRM, whether it's through some type of software, or you're starting from scratch and you're just literally using an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of paper. You need to know, okay, I reached out to 100 people today, 17 answered, I had 12 pitches, and I signed up 3 people. And then you need to track that data. So then you start creating a law of average. Because once you have built an actual consistent process, it's scalable, not only with yourself, but with other people. And one of the things that grew my first business so much in the first 3 years was that, man, I knew my numbers. I know my numbers like to the T. I know our acquisition costs, our LTV. I know our pitch percentage, closing percentage, answer rate. We know everything down to the T. And because of that, you can enter a math problem and scale it with people, with content, with advertising, and with capital. But if you're just shooting from the hip, that's when you see businesses fail, people lose money, and you deal with a lot of different issues, all right? Next is increasing customer lifetime value. Lifetime value is the amount of capital that you're gonna ultimately receive from a client. Okay, you sign up a customer in 2022, if from 2022 to now, and then they stop being your customer, they paid you $5,000. That means the LTV of that customer was $5,000, right? So it's basically an average between all your customers and what they're ultimately going to pay you, right? So how do we increase that value? Number one, you raise your prices. Raising your prices almost always causes you to make more money. Now, this doesn't mean you do something so crazy that you lose the bulk of your customers and your marketplace. So, I mean, think through this clearly, but raising your prices does actually make you more money. If you think about Netflix, how many times, I mean, most of us had Netflix for 5-10 years. How many times have Netflix raised their prices? Probably a lot. You look at Chipotle. How many times have they raised their prices? And so you obviously got to know what market you're in. For example, like Amazon, their rule is like companies are always looking to raise their prices. We're trying to drop them. But they also are doing a lot of different things. You know, Amazon and Prime is almost like a lead magnet. Yes, it creates a lot of recurring revenue, but they pretty much lose money on it. But the brand is so big that the AWS business has that massive profit margin, which helps create the company and add enterprise value and make it more valuable on the market. Okay, 3, this is obvious. This will not make you super crazy rich in most cases, but create a referral program that makes sense for the customer. I was just at Tesla recently because I've had a Tesla over the last 4 years, and they literally just had one where it's like, if you refer someone, you get $1,000 and they get off $2,000. It's Tesla. They have high revenue. They sell a ton of cars, but the valuation and the success of the company is heavily off of quarterly numbers and quarterly deliveries. And if they miss it by 3%, the whole entire market freaks out and they lose 10%. So referral program is huge. 4, bring more value to drop churn. Okay, for anybody that doesn't know what churn is just simply the amount of customers that cancel. Okay, if you have a reoccurring subscription model, let's say Netflix, and let's just say they had 100 million people and 5 million per year cancel, that's a 5% churn rate, right? So when people do churn, they do cancel, figure out why. Was it a payment issue? Was it a value issue? What is causing them to do that? For example, like I talked about, I started a private community and people are loving it. We're almost up to 200 people. And this is just for the media business. And I'll tell you insights for some of you guys that are in it. And the first 30 days, we had about 9 or 10% churn, which isn't bad. But then I looked and I figured out that every single person that canceled did not cancel because they didn't like it. They canceled because they actually didn't show up to the live Zoom training. So I was like, oh, if everyone that went to the Zoom training is obsessed with the community and they're so happy, I just need to figure out a way to get them on that. So then we started setting up processes to communicate, to reach out to them if someone's canceling, say, hey, we'd love to get you on. Reach out to people early on, make sure that they're getting on. We implemented a few simple processes that didn't take much time. A lot of it was automated, dropped the churn down to 3 to 4%. And it helped people that were going to cancel actually go to one of the lives, multiple of them. And then they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm not canceling. So you always have to look at why are people canceling? Why are they churning? And then how do we prevent it? Next, you can add a subscription service. Okay. If you have a service-based business, for example, there's someone in the business community I started. I've been in the solar industry forever. He started a subscription-based business that actually cleans people's solar panels. That's great, right? Instead of a car wash and you doing it on demand, create a subscription business. You come once every 2 weeks, once a week. You can have a subscription business for barbershops, for all types of things. And what that does is it increases the company's valuation. And one of the things I learned through running businesses is if you're a transactional business, it's great. You can do high revenue, but you lose the customer. So the multiple and the valuation of the company is going to be a lot lower because if you sold the company and someone took over, you don't have new money coming in unless you're going out and hunting for new customers. If you have a reoccurring model, even if someone buys the company and they take over, that money is still coming in. Obviously, they could still mess it up, But that's why you see SaaS companies, tech companies that are on yearly recurring revenue have extremely high valuation, okay? Next is buy or build a business that aligns with your current model. Essentially focus on vertical integration, right? Vertical integration is, let's say that, okay, you're a real estate agent. Okay, that's a great way to make really good income, 6 figures for some people, even 7. But vertical integration is, okay, well, I'm a great realtor. Why don't, when I have these massive commission checks, that I convert that money into a fourplex and then I rent out those things. So now the debt is being snowballed by the renters, and then you're also cash flowing and you're able to build equity and value. But then also you start, let's say, buying Airbnbs, and you buy those all over the place. And the vertical integration could be you start an Airbnb management business. So not only you do that to manage yours, you manage others. You could start a cleaning business because you pay cleaners so much money for your Airbnbs, for your rentals, for everything. So you start an Airbnb cleaning business. That's vertical integration, okay? So find, when you have a consumer base, think about how much capital they're spending with you and how much capital they actually have, or the businesses have, if you're in a business-to-business situation. If you're in a B2B market and you have all these different clients that run companies, the market cap and the potential where they're already spending money elsewhere, why not just build or buy those businesses that they already trust you, they already respect you. You can grow your business that way, and you can also help your customers be happier, eliminate problems that maybe they face, and help them grow your company. All right, so now let's look at operations. This was, we talked about obviously the financial numbers, but when it came to growing, something that went hand in hand with that for any of my companies, but also any of the companies I work for, is one of the first things I do when I'm talking to an entrepreneur is I look at what's their day to day. The bulk of businesses that are revenue under $10 million, or individuals who make under, I'd say $500,000 a year, maybe $1 million, is they're high skilled individuals if they work for a company, and they're extremely high skilled. I want to say high skilled or extremely high skilled if they run a business, but they're likely the most talented person in their company if they're revenuing under 5 to 10 million. And so the problem with that is the success of the business is fully reliant on their intelligence and their capabilities. And so they have to learn how to delegate. So one of the first things I do, and you could actually do this now, and I'll break down how to do this, is just simply write out on a Google Docs or notes to your phone or sheet of paper, everything that you do every single week that isn't a high level critical thinking skill or does not generate revenue. A guy that runs a interior design business, he asked me yesterday, we had a group call, and he's like, man, Grant, I just sent out like 300,000 worth of potential deals, what's it called? Just like sheet for them to look at, and proposals, excuse me. So he sent out 300 grand worth of proposals, and he's like, man, like when I'm motivated, when I'm locked in, he's like, Grant, I work so hard, but there's just some days I don't feel like doing that. He's like, how do you deal with that? And what I told him is, you don't. It's a misconception. School taught us this, that you have to do things that you don't like doing or you're not good at. In fact, as an entrepreneur, your creativity and whatever you're really, really great at, that's what you should focus on more than anything. In fact, you should stop doing things that suck or you don't like as fast as possible. The company will grow because of it. So I told them this exact thing. Write out all of these things and go find a virtual assistant, go find an admin, or go hire someone that specializes in these specific things or some technology that can do it for you. And then you only do things that really make you happy. And you could see him light up because he was like, man, this is great. Okay, I don't want to do these things. And you could tell. And because of that, he's going to do what he does great. And his business is going to grow because of it. All right. We talked about obviously delegate. Sales is keen, right? Make sure that but most importantly, if you have sales teams, focus on things that actually grow their business. I have so many friends that work in corporate and they're working all the time. And I'm like, man, what are you doing? He's like, I got to fill out reports on the CRM. And I'm like, why do they make you do that? And he goes, I don't know, man. I guess it's just part of having a base salary. And I'm like, this person is one of the best salespeople I've ever met. Why in the heck is he spending time doing admin? Doesn't make sense. So make sure that you and your team are not wasting their energy doing mindless tasks. This is where ChatGPT can come in, virtual assistants, and other automations can really, really help. Operations, if your company and your team and you individually is not getting better, the team won't get better. Okay, that's like having LeBron James and the Lakers or Michael Jordan or the Dream Team or whatever the case may be and never practicing. That would sound crazy, wouldn't it? You have to go out of your way and put together processes and systems that make you and your team better. All right, next is create SOPs and training videos for employees. This is something I obviously I knew in some capacity, but I had Dan Martell on one of my podcasts. I'm sure you can scroll down and find it if you want to listen to it. He wrote this great book called Buy Back Your Time. And I thought I was good at delegating, and then I met Dan and I was like, I need to do this even more. And after I read that book, actually, I went out and I realized not just myself, but I had all of my managers for weeks and weeks and weeks training new hires on all the different aspects of our operations, of sales, product knowledge. And man, it's a lot of work. I mean, a ton of work. And so I thought, what if they knew all of these things before they even started? So I found some website called teachable.com, and it's like kind of like a course type of thing. You build videos and quizzes, and you can use it internally or externally. And I went in a studio, just like I'm talking to you guys, for like 2 days straight. I filmed like 10 hours worth of content on everything you need to know and built out all these quizzes with my team. And then anytime we have a new hire in sales, they have to go through that entire training and pass it at least a 90% rate. And if it's not done before Sunday of their first week of working for the company, we immediately terminate them. So in other words, all that 2 weeks of learning, now we can focus on high leverage, high critical thinking skills and develop them at a quicker rate, because day one, they know everything about the product and service, and we can track and know that they actually did those things. Next, firing low performing employees and people that don't serve you in life. I don't know what it is. It's just about energy, but you can grow your business so fast by just getting rid of the fat. And this is such an interesting thing. You know, you could have multiple departments, 4 or 5 different departments, and fire an accountant that nobody on the sales team knows. And for some reason, sales will go up 10%. Energy is contagious. And you bring a winner around you, you're going to be more successful because of it. This is so huge, right? Next is implementing KPIs to track data and hold people and yourself accountable. You know, we talked about how numbers are so important. This is so embarrassing to say, but my first 6 months in business, this is back in 2020, we were killing it and we weren't tracking anything. And you're like, man, are you sure, Grant? I'm like, yes. And you know, I obviously kind of knew this, but we were building, we were doing this, we were doing that. We were so focused on generating revenue. I didn't know if this person was just not doing, I mean, I had a general idea, but I was using too much energy trying to figure out, you know, were they doing things the right way? And remember, you can't improve what you don't measure. Track your KPIs, track your data. People lie, numbers don't. And when you start tracking stuff, and I'll do this with business owners within the first 2 weeks of meeting with them, without me teaching them a thing, their revenue goes up, their profitability goes up, they'll fire low performing employees, everything improves because they actually now have insight into their business. They already knew it better than anybody. Now you got data, everything's gonna get better. All right. Now let's finish this up. All right. Now we're gonna talk about mentally, intelligence wise and skill set wise. A rule I've always told myself is if you don't get better, nothing else will. The people around you, your business, your health, your finances, your fitness, your well-being. And this is for everybody that is on this call. There is an information gap. I gave a TED talk of this. Is the only difference between where you're at right now and where you want to be is the information, resources, and actions that you take. So if you want to change your life, you can work really hard, you can work an extra 10 hours, and you will marginally improve your life and business, but it won't change radically. I'm not talking about 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x. But to do this, that you're great at and create output in other areas with content, collaboration, that's people, code, and advertising and content. I know a lot of people that what took them to 6 figures or to be successful will not make them a high. Okay, you got to do things that create output, right? For example, having a team of 10 salespeople and teaching them which one's going to win. Obviously, the 10. Next is learn daily. And one thing that I'd recommend is read a book a week or listen to an audiobook per week. What I've been trying to do is I was like, when did I grow the most as a person? And I looked back and I was like, oh, I was reading books every single day. Podcasts are great. YouTube is great, but there is nothing that can change your life and make you more intelligent than reading. And so what you can do is you can listen to an audiobook on 1.2 or 1.5 speed, and you can cut down the listening time anywhere between 10 to 40%. Mentorship. You can find a great mentor, whether it's somebody at work, whether it's someone in your family, whether it's someone that you hire to coach. Be around people that are decades ahead of you so you don't have to make the same mistakes. It's the only way you can skip levels is through knowledge and through mentors. Next is take care of yourself, man. I mean, this is so important. Literally, just drinking water and sleeping 8 hours a night will improve your life better than almost anything. Just do the basics. When you don't sleep, you're irritable, you forget things, you say the wrong things, you don't perform at a high level. Make sure you do that. Work out, read, all that good stuff. And you know what? Better people makes your life and business better. When you look at every problem, anything that's going on right now, I hate to bring up politics, but God forbid, and if you're in LA, we're praying for you. And if you need anything, please DM us and we can connect you guys with the right people, and I'm happy to donate or anything like that. But it was gross incompetence what has happened. And it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It is a horribly managed situation that should have been handled well over a decade ago. You get better people, everything gets better. It doesn't matter if it's a country, a business, a coffee shop, an HOA, someone mowing your lawn, a spouse, friends, a customer service agent. You hire better people, you have better friends, you're going to be happier, you're going to be more fulfilled, and everything will get better. Okay, the best businesses have more A players than businesses that aren't as good. The best sports teams have the best players. Okay, you see what happened with Tom Brady, is one of the probably the best quarterback ever. The second Bill Belichick, who won 7-8 Super Bowls just like him, the second he lost Tom Brady, Bill Belichick couldn't win like he used to. You got to have great players. Okay, last is a thinking schedule. Everyone here is a hard worker. You're listening to this podcast, you're trying to get better. But if you don't actually spend time utilizing your intelligence, you will waste it. And we all have capable brains and brain power. But if we don't put the right information in and spend time thinking through, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I live where I live? Why do I work in the industry that I'm doing? What I'm doing, is it the right thing? If the answer is no on some of these things, then you need to utilize your brain power. Because if not, you're going to go from problem to problem, person to person, company to company, with little to no progress and even potentially regression. You have to slow down and think through why you're doing what you're doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. As always, you can find me on all my social media channels. I mentioned my new private business community. It is discounted for the first 300 people. I'm not sure when you guys are going to listen to this, but the link's going to be below. Other than that, I hope you guys have an incredible week. Let's have a massive year, and I'll see you guys again for episode 114. Thank you, guys.